Maya walked into the lawyer's office, and immediately, she could feel the cold stares from the room. 17 years old, with dark skin, her natural curly hair pulled back, and a simple dress that marked her as someone out of place among the sharply dressed heirs of the Almeida fortune. She had never been in a place like this before. It didn't help that she was the daughter of Dona Celeste, the woman who had cleaned this family's house for years. From the moment she stepped into the office, she became the target of whispered remarks. Who let the cleaning lady's daughter into this meeting? Victor Almeida, the spoiled nephew of Eduardo Almeida, the deceased businessman, sneered, his voice carrying over the room. A few chuckles followed. Maya said nothing, her face neutral. She stood at the back, staring at the empty chair in the center of the room, where the reading of Eduardo's will would soon take place. Her Aunt Christina, dressed in a designer dress and adorned in expensive jewelry, muttered under her breath, "Must be another one of my brother's social causes. She's probably here to beg for money." Maya took a deep breath, the weight of the situation pressing down on her chest. She felt small, insignificant, surrounded by the elite who had no reason to see her as anything but the maid's daughter. Her eyes roamed the walls, taking in the pictures of the family's luxurious vacations, their certifications of success, and the empire Eduardo Almeida had built over the years. "She's probably lost," Ricardo, the eldest son, commented, his voice dripping with disdain. "Someone should show her out before Mr. Garcia arrives. It's embarrassing." But Maya didn't flinch. Instead, a slight smile flickered across her face as Enrique Garcia, the family's longtime lawyer, entered the room. He was an old man, his face wrinkled with age and experience. His presence alone commanded attention. "Miss Maya," he said, gesturing to the only empty seat, which happened to be right beside him, at his desk. A stunned silence filled the room. Victor nearly choked on his champagne. Christina's grip tightened around her designer purse, her knuckles white. "Excuse me, Garcia," Ricardo interrupted, adjusting his tie. "But do you know this girl?" Garcia nodded slightly. "Yes, of course. You should all know her as well." He looked around at the puzzled faces of the Almeida family. "Maya Oliveira, Dona Celeste's daughter. She's been helping her mother with cleaning in this house since she was 12. The room went still. "The maid's daughter." Christina's lips curled into a sneer. "What is she doing here at a private family will reading?" Maya took a seat, her back straight, her face serene despite the palpable hostility. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry, not after everything. She had worked too hard to let their cruelty break her. Enrique Garcia opened his briefcase with the precision of someone who had done it 1,000 times before. "We are gathered here for the reading of Eduardo Almeida's final will," he said formally. "He passed away 3 weeks ago after battling cancer." Patricia, one of the younger relatives, took out her phone and snapped a picture of Maya. "Intruder at the will reading," she typed, her fingers moving quickly across the screen. "Lackey trying to pull a fast one even after their boss is dead." Victor whispered to his circle of friends, "I bet my uncle left her some change. Maybe 10,000 Ray for the girl. A few scraps." No one seemed to notice Maya's steady gaze on Garcia as he removed the sealed envelope containing the will. "Before we begin," Garcia said, "Eduardo left a video that should be shown before we read the will." Ricardo rolled his eyes. "Another one of my father's theatrics," he muttered. Ignoring him, Garcia activated a screen embedded in the wall. The image of Eduardo Almeida appeared on the screen. The man was visibly frail, his body weakened by illness, but his eyes still held a sharp gleam of determination. "If you are watching this, then I have left this world," Eduardo's recorded voice began, firm despite his weak condition. "And I imagine you are eager to know how I have divided my estate." He paused, his eyes scanning the faces in the room, even through the screen. "But before that," Eduardo continued, "I have a question. Can any of you tell me the name of Dona Celeste's daughter?" An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Ricardo frowned. Victor scratched the back of his neck. Christina stared at her nails, pretending to be uninterested. "I figured you wouldn't know," Eduardo continued, his voice tinged with sadness. "That girl has been working in our house for 5 years, helping her mother since she was 12. And none of you, my own family, ever bothered to learn her name." Maya could feel the lump in her throat as Eduardo's words sank in. She had never expected to hear this from him. Eduardo had always treated her with respect, had always spoken to her as an equal, unlike the others. I watched how you treated her, Eduardo's voice continued, and how you treated all the employees, as if they were invisible, disposable. And that told me everything I needed to know about the character you have built. The tension in the room was palpable. Patricia had dropped her phone. Victor swallowed hard. Ricardo shifted uncomfortably in his seat. What none of them could have imagined was that Maya, the teenager they had all humiliated, was about to turn their world upside down. Eduardo's video continued, his fragile voice echoing through the room. In recent months, I began to observe how you treated the people around you, he said. How you spoke to nurses, cleaners, drivers. What I saw saddened me deeply. Maya's heart pounded as Eduardo's words hit home. She had known what kind of man Eduardo was: kind, understanding, someone who saw beyond appearances, but hearing him speak now, it felt like a vindication of everything she had silently endured. Then Eduardo's image on the screen smiled faintly. And then I noticed Maya. While you ignored her, I saw an extraordinary young woman who studied at night after work, cared for her sick mother, and still found time to read the books in my library. The room went dead silent. Ricardo stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. Garcia, this can't be legal. Garcia remained impassive. Everything is in perfect legal order, Mr. Ricardo. On the screen, Eduardo's image looked almost pleased. I know you're surprised. Ricardo is probably already questioning the legality of all this, he said. The eldest son probably can't fathom that a cleaning lady's daughter might be my heir. The words cut through the air, and Ricardo's face turned an angry shade of red. Maya could feel their eyes on her, but she refused to look away. Eduardo's video continued. What you don't know, he said, is that I've spent the last 3 months talking to Maya. She would sit next to me during her breaks and tell me about her dreams of studying law. Patricia's face turned white as she hurriedly tried to delete the humiliating post she had made about Maya, but it was too late. The post had already gone viral, and the damage was done. This is Maya Oliveira, Eduardo's voice continued, daughter of Dona Celeste, who worked in our house for 15 years, even when Christina reduced her salary while buying her 4th imported car. Christina gasped, her face flushed with shame. Eduardo's voice continued, unmoved by the unfolding drama. Maya, whom Ricardo humiliated when he spilled water on her documents, making her clean the floor on her knees while calling her incompetent. He had no idea she had just received news that her mother needed expensive surgery. The video ended abruptly, and Garcia opened another envelope. There is one more video to show, he said. But before that, I need to read the main terms of the will. Victor exploded. This is absurd. A maid can't inherit the empire our family has built for generations. Maya finally spoke. Your family built nothing, Mr. Victor, she said, her voice calm yet firm. Eduardo Almeida started out selling fruit at the market. The only ones born with a silver spoon in their mouths are you. The room fell into stunned silence. Garcia cleared his throat and began to read the will aloud. I, Eduardo Almeida, leave to Maya Oliveira 51% of the shares of Almea Incorporos, my primary residence, and all properties listed in Appendix A, as well as the sum of 20 million Ray in various investments. This is undue influence, shouted Ricardo, his voice filled with rage. That girl manipulated a sick man. Garcia raised his hand. If you allow me to continue, there are conditions. Maya will only take full control at the age of 21. Until then, the company will be managed by a board led by myself and Dr. Luisa Mendez. At that moment, Christina scoffed. The doctor? What does she have to do with this? As if answering the question, the door opened, and Dr. Luisa Mendez, a middle-aged black woman, entered the room in an elegant suit. She smiled at Maya. Dr. Mendez was much more than your brother's doctor, Garcia explained. She was the one who introduced Maya to Eduardo after witnessing how the young woman cared for Dona Celeste in the hospital, even after you fired her when her mother fell ill. Dr. Luisa nodded. Dona Celeste and I studied together before circumstances took us down different paths. When I found her at the hospital battling a cancer similar to Eduardo's, I couldn't help but notice what an extraordinary daughter she had. Maya's story, once dismissed as unimportant by those around her, had now become the key to a transformation no one had seen coming. The entire family was stunned as Garcia continued reading. Eduardo's final words to them had not only left Maya an empire, but had exposed the harsh truth about the Almeida family and their past. "This is just the beginning," Maya said, standing tall. "And I won't stop until we make things right." What followed was a revolution, one that shifted the balance of power and transformed the world Maya had once been told she didn't belong in. It was not about revenge, it was about justice, compassion, and most importantly, change.